Hi everyone, you're watching Good for the Game TV. It's 9 o'clock Monday night. It's time for Use It or Lose It. On tonight's show, we're going to be talking Rugby Championships Week 1. Lots of excitement after a very impressive opening performance by the Boks. We'll get the panel's impression on that and also the other game, Argentina up against New Zealand. Most importantly, I guess we'll deep dive a little bit into that Springboks performance, see which players put their hands up for a flight to Japan later in the year and which ones may have battled a little bit. If you are new to our show, please go down below the video and hit the subscribe button and catch all of our previews, and often betting related and usually rugby related. Well, good to have you guys on the show. Let's introduce the panel now, and I'm going to start in the middle of my screen. He's in the Western Cape, or he's at the Eastern Cape. I always forget, Hein. It's Couch Critic. Couch, good to have you on the show.
How's it, Brent? Thanks, man. Yeah, you seem to struggle with that one, but as long as you know where Kimberley is, it's all good, eh?
Well, there's no doubt I'm going to be in Kimberley in a few weeks because as far as I'm concerned, the Griquas are hosting the Currie Cup final, and I can't wait. And we got firm commitment from the likes of Judge Rugby, who I'm going to introduce next to see. He's already organising his accommodation there. Judge, good to have you on the show. Good performance by the Boks, and Griquas are top of the Currie Cup log. What more does a man want?
Hey man, I tell you, as long as it warms up, I'm on my way. I think I'm thoroughly looking forward to the Springbok chats, and I hope the Griquas carry on with the good fight, man.
Excellent. Yeah, we won't be talking too much about Currie Cup, I wouldn't imagine, tonight, because there's loads of Springbok rugby to talk about. And I haven't had a chance to watch his video yet, but I have seen it had already something like 400 views when it popped up on my screen. And it's unbiased rugby. Donovan, good to have you back on the show. And you look like a man who's very excited for the Rugby Champs.
Yeah, no, very excited. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Mark just saying it's good to see you in an Ireland beanie.
Yeah, no, I actually got this from Mark.
Oh, did you get it from Mark? Okay,
yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, well, I must admit that the way winter is here in Joburg at the moment, I wouldn't mind getting a few beanies myself. It's getting a bit cool. My ears are actually freezing as we speak. But guys, let's get into the chat, into the Rugby Championship chat. And I think what we'll do is sort of just we'll just talk a little bit in general about the performances, and then what I would like to do is go into the Bok team and sort of start in the front row in the tight five and just sort of say who stood out for you, who do you think struggled, and we can perhaps discuss around some of those players. There's the usual discussions around Yankees, who everyone seems to think was good, but at the same time people still have to find a way to have a go at him. And when we get to the fly halves and that, we'll talk about that. So, Sean, let me start with you. It was an 18-point victory for the Springboks. Overall, I mean, they're getting lots of praise. What were the real things that stood out for you from a positive point of view? And is there some concerns, though, still? Are we perhaps reading into too much victory against Australia?
No. Australia, granted, are not great at the moment. I was really shocked that they didn't start Kurtley Beale, and I think it was quite evident when he came on why. But if it's done anything for us, it's absolutely widened our pool, which is what my hope was, and that we would have guys that we're starting to get to the position where we're struggling to fill our squad with quality players, which we cannot honestly say we've done in the past. I thought two guys struggled a little bit on Saturday. I thought as a whole we did exceptionally well, considering there were 5 guys in that match day 23 that were brand new to Russie's defensive setup and all that sort of stuff. A couple of guys coming back from injury, 6 or 7 in total. I just think it was pretty decent going to score 5 tries. I don't know when last we put up such a great effort. First game of the season and stuff like that. So I think there's more good to come out of it than anything else.
Excellent. Well, let's go to Couch now. Couch, my impression of the game was just that first half, it could have been very different obviously there was a forward pass, which was a legitimate forward pass, try disallowed for Australia. And of course, they had a petty. I mean, all he had to do was pick the ball up and score. Would have made things very different. But overall, I really liked the way the Boks got together. And they seemed to tighten up a bit in the second half as well. And really a solid. You can't ask for more than that. I think the bookies had the headline at about 6 points and an 18-point victory over the Wallabies.
No, definitely it was good, as Sean says. It was all about. I think you could see on Russie's face just he wasn't expecting it to come as easily as it did. I think he thought he might struggle with this B team to try and just nip a victory, and I think he was very chuffed. And that to me is the big indicator. Usually as soon as we try and go to a B team or backup team, it's a bit of a struggle, and that's the good thing about this, is that at least we saw that we've got a few fringe guys who are knocking on the door, and they can do the job. So in that sense, it was good. But yes, as you say, completely. I mean, I think some of us are just seeing the positives there and not thinking about the fact that the Aussies could have been quite a few points clear actually at the break. I think they looked more dangerous on attack in the first half. I mean, we got 2 opportunities and we used them, which is credit to us. You know, that doesn't often happen, that we make the best use of opportunities. But you know, that forward pass, it was, you know, nothing down to good defense or anything like that. Kareli cut us open like you wouldn't believe. And Dana Letpetty scored that 99 times out of 100. So we would have lagged a bit behind, but I still think we probably would have overhauled them in the second half. I think it was a very good second half. But we'll get to the players there. There were a few disappointments off the bench there, I feel. But for the biggest part, the Boks were impressive, and it was a good outing. And as I said, I think Rassie is extremely chuffed with what he got out of that match. And then just looking across the pond, I think the big one there for me is Argentina again. It was a brilliant performance by them. There was one soft moment with the intercept try, and that cost them the game. For the rest, I mean, they were pretty much dominating the All Blacks for 50 or 60 minutes with the All Blacks just playing the counter-attacking rugby and looking for opportunity to counter and hit them. So that was really good to see them almost keep that Jaguares momentum there and playing with that same type of intensity and the same type of game. It didn't go their way at the end, but it could have. So I think that was a very important one. And again, the All Blacks weren't that far from full strength. I think we were much more B team than them. And I think you've been playing on this a bit. There might just be a few little chinks in this All Black armor, and it all sets up perfectly for this weekend.
It certainly does. We'll talk a little bit about this weekend as well, but let's go over to unbiased rugby. You must have been very impressed with the Bok performance. I mean, we can't really expect much more. I mean, the moment that the B team was, let's call it a B team. I mean, there's some 18 players in there, guys like Peter, Steph, Toy and that. But the moment the team was announced, I saw a lot of comments on Twitter. The Boks are going to lose this. I mean, we've got a betting forum on Good for the Game. Guys are coming in, pile into Australia on the handicap. You know, we can't win with this team. And in the end, you know, like Sean was saying, we actually created a broader base. I would almost go so far as to say Rassie Erasmus may have a couple of headaches that he wasn't expecting.
Well, I think it has proven the fact that, you know, you got to have at least a 35, 40-man squad in the modern day, or people that you can actually rely on to be able to do this. Because with the travel and the time factors and things like that, it's the only way to play international rugby. New Zealand have been doing it for quite a while. So from that point of view, I think it was pretty good. A few little issues. Normally, I'm like super positive about the Boks, but I still felt, you know, the game, they still got 2, even though they were disallowed, there were still 2 times that the opposition got over the try line. So, you know, in the grand scheme of things, if those things had just worked out, we would have still won, but, you know, it would have only been by about 4 points. But the biggest problem was obviously the defense was a little bit lacking in the first half, but defense is something you can fix fairly quickly. So overall, I'm very, very happy. I'm very, very happy. I was super excited in the lounge.
Right. Well, let me start with you then as we work our way through the team. Just a welcome to the guys on the live chat. Gomalemo, I think you probably a first-time viewer. He does say the whole country should be watching this video, so please give it a share or something there. Maybe we can get the whole country to watch it. But Donovan, let me start with you in terms of the front row. What did you make of our scrum? And feel free to touch on any of the reserves that came on as well, as far as your opinion. Anyone there put up their hand and say, I have to be on that plane to Japan? And were there any disappointments?
I think Trevor put his hand up big time. I thought he had an exceptional game at Tated. Because Tated's a fairly technical kind of position. I think he stood up very well. But the biggest thing that I picked up from the game, if you watch the aftermatch with Lisa Gaboka, and he was talking about the beast, and he was saying, isn't it impressive that he has a guy that's got over 100 tests and he's still hungry, and that's what makes it so impressive. I think all the front row were fairly good. Bongi was a little bit, I think the throwing was a little bit off, but you're allowed to have an off day every now and again. I thought the beast played really well. I was so nice to see, actually, I haven't seen Eben and Loot play for so long, that it was actually nice to see that combo on the field again. You know, it's, you know, so used to either having Mostert and Eben, and a couple of years ago, that was our first choice by a long shot, and it was actually nice to have really 2 big locks on the field. So overall, I was pretty happy. I thought Scott Bitts brought a little bit of stability. I didn't see Vincent Koff for too much. Lisa Gqoboka had some nice runs. But yeah, overall, I was very happy with the tight 5. I thought if that's our B-side tight 5, then we are in a seriously good position.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. I was impressed. Let's go over to Sean. Sean, your thoughts on the tight 5 and maybe just a comment on the lineouts, because they were a bit of a problem for us. And Bongi's normally pretty sharp with his throwing. We normally actually consider Mark's the guy who maybe he's got a problem with the throwing. Is obviously that's an area we can work on going forward.
Yeah, I agree, and I also don't think it's too concerning. I don't think it's like an ongoing issue with Bongi. He did get it wrong. Lut did miss an absolute sitter though. Like it was basically in his hands and he headed it or something. I don't know. So can't really blame the hooker.
You can't blame the hooker for that one.
Yeah. So but yeah, and I thought in the game, I thought Bongi was there and thereabouts. I don't think he had a terrible game outside of lineouts and scrummaging. I was very happy with the beast. I'm a massive fan, and it'll take a lot for me to say anything bad about the guy. But like he really had a decent game. I think one of the main like from a scrummaging point of view, him and Kitsi are really, really good. I think Kitshoff does a little bit more in terms of carry meters. Beast does often get stopped pretty much just over the gain line or on it. But to be honest with you, like I'm happy for him to play. And if we lose a little bit, we've got enough big loosies and bigger guys, bigger carries that can do the job. And the Beast was getting heavily involved from a defensive point of view as well. So I was quite happy. Nyakane was excellent, and the fact that he plays both sides, he's almost, for me, like going to be a shoe-in for the 5th prop, I think, for the squad. Very happy. Lisa Gqoboka, I'm so stoked that he got on. He did have 1 or 2 issues scrummaging. I think that's just time in the saddle. So, like, I have no issues. Koch wasn't too bad. We did struggle a little bit when the replacement front row came on, like, you know, slightly, and like I'm okay with it. But I suppose we were getting enough front foot ball and we were managing the game very well around that. Set piece dominance is really important for us, but we managed to work around it and we didn't get drilled too much. And I thought from our locks point of view, I thought it was great. I thought it's great to have both Lut and Eben back playing. Like, we need that. And then the guys coming off the bench, pretty handy. Tight 5, I didn't have too much of hassles with. I think we've just got a little bit of work to do with the guys tightening up scrum time, and then a little bit of work come line out time. But I thought in the loose, I thought they're very handy.
Excellent. Well, Pierre Killian in the live chat making the point that we do have a tremendous amount of depth in the tight 5. And let's just get Couch's opinions on that before we move to the back row.
I actually take quite a few shots for still being a Beast believer. A lot of my mates say he's over the hill, and I think it's very difficult to say that of a prop. I mean, it's that kind of experience you can't buy as a prop, and you need that in your squad. And I still think maybe some of the runs, everyone says the crowd never gets to the ST part of the Beast when he runs anymore, but I mean, maybe it's not about that. They also don't do that with Malherbe because he never gets the ball. But it's about setting a solid base and getting stuck in. And I think that's where Beast has actually improved. You know, he knows his way around the scrum, and you can't teaching any tricks there. And I think you could actually see the difference there between Lisa Gqoboka coming on there, and he just didn't quite have the same impact in the scrums. And to me, that it is a big thing not having that, and that is probably. That was a little bit of a tick against him for someone who has to try and force his way into a squad. That wasn't a great showing, and the same for Vincent. Only making the bench in this B team was a little bit of an indicator to him that he's still in the cold at the moment in terms of hitting a seat on the plane, and he didn't force his way in with that performance. And especially a guy coming down from the northern hemisphere, you'd expect especially scrum time for him to come and have an impact. But of course, it's also about combinations. Often we say this loose head isn't strong or that tight head isn't strong, but you also got to learn to scrum in a combination. It's a whole front row and a whole tight 5 kind of thing. So it's tough holding that against individual players. And again, Skalk Brits great around the park, but is he really the best scrummaging hooker to scrum with as well? So all in all, probably there's a few things to look at there in terms of who comes on off the bench. But the starting lineup was perfect. It was a strong scrum. It was very good. And as everyone has said, it was great having Eben there. I've heard guys saying that they should start Ergia and Mostert or Ergia and whoever there's just no replacement for Eben Etzebeth when he's there. The physicality that he brings and the presence, we don't have anyone to match that in the number 4 jersey at present, and it was great having him there. And then it was nice having Luet. I was obviously out of sight, out of mind a little bit. I'm a big fan of RG, but Luet put up his hand there. It was a good performance. And now it's over to RG to show what he can do this coming weekend. But no, it was a very good performance, especially by the tight 5. Yeah, and again, Bongi has shown he's pretty decent with the throwing, so that's not an issue. And he was pretty good in the loose. So no, it was very good. And Trevor to me was probably one of the standouts there. He's really forced his way in after a good Super Rugby campaign, and he might just be one of the wild cards really to be pushing for some decent game time, not only going to the World Cup but getting decent game time in this World Cup.
Yes, and Will Jared Wright joining us on the live chat says Luet and Eben still our best locks, and also makes a point of how props need to mature. So I think it is a good point when you think about guys knocking on the door and some of the youngsters coming through in the front row at the moment. Jared, hope you're feeling better. I know you were down and out last week. Couch, let's stay with you then and move on to the back row. What were your thoughts on the loose forwards?
Listen, Brent, everyone's going to say Francois Louw had a great game, and I'm not going to argue with that. He did have a good game at the breakdown. I still think he's not a number 8. He should be playing at number 6. I don't know. Rassie has always believed that a number 8 almost plays as a second, or actually sometimes as a primary fetcher for him. But I feel he might as well just move Francois Louw to number 6 and then play a Marcel Coetzee or someone who's another carrier at number 8 instead of Elstad. I think Elstad got lost in it a little bit. I know it's a dirty job playing the number 6 and being a kind of enforcer, but I still think if you had a little bit of a look, he was a bit more quiet than some of us wanted him to be. But yeah, it's a first game in there, so we can't judge him too harshly. But as I said, I just prefer my fetcher playing 6 to 8, and I'd rather have Marcel starting at 8, and he's quite bullish there at number 8 as a carrier. And I mean, we don't have to say anything about Pieter Steph du Toit anymore. I was chatting to my brother again this weekend. We were, what was it, like 12 months ago, 18 months ago, saying this is the worst decision ever, moving your best number 5 lock to 7 flank. What a disaster. Only South Africa could be so idiotic. And now we probably have the best number 7, or that blindside flanker in World Rugby at the moment. The guy is immense. He's fantastic. I mean, that run down the touchline there with a little chip kick that looked like he took a leaf out of Pablo Montera's book there. So that was brilliant. And then off the bench, yeah, I don't know. There wasn't that much impact. Probably not as much time as we wanted to see from Marcel with game time. Hopefully he gets another run this weekend to show. As I said, I would have preferred him starting at 8. But no, all in all, a good show.
Right, Donovan, let's go over to you for your comments on the loosies, and just noting the comment of Pierre Killian. He's asking the question if Khaleesi's not fit, Low to start at 6? So maybe your thoughts on that, and then just your overall thoughts on the loose trio.
I just want to come back to the tight 5. I just had something to add.
Right, sure.
For the Lisa Gabokas and those kind of players that they probably aren't going to be on the plane to the Rugby World Cup, but they must remember the Lions are here in 2 years' time. That only happens every 12 years, so it's another big thing that they should be working for going forward. But we'll leave it at that. I thought Flo had a good game. I think Russie's trying to find some not a backup for Dwayne, but maybe some kind of another player who's been there, done it, got the t-shirt a couple of times. Maybe somebody can stabilize that back 3. I'm not 100% sure. It does look like Sia's probably going to miss the rest of the Rugby Championship, so I'm sure Russie's going to be playing this weekend. I'll be honest, I didn't really notice Elstad on the field at all. So I saw him once or twice. I didn't really notice Marcel. So I don't think they really put their hands up to say, listen, this is my position, and that's it. And then Pieter Steph du Toit is just, the guy is immense. And if he carries on playing with this kind of form, I've got an absolute, he'll be World Player of the Year sometime. No, not this year, but sometime he'll be World Player of the Year, this current form.
Yeah, he certainly is playing well. Let's go down to Sean in Cape Town and see what he made of the loose forwards.
Yeah, I was pretty amped to watch Elstad play, and I'll go out straight off the bat and say, listen, he missed way too many tackles. I think he made 7 and he missed 5, which is not great. However, I'm honestly not fazed by that at all. I thought we got the balance wrong in our loosies. I would rather not have Francois Lowe at 8, especially with Coetzee in the squad. Coetzee, both of them played 8 this year, but Coetzee absolutely dominated at 8 in the Pro 14 and when he played Champions Cup. And I just feel that he was a better option at 8. Rather have Francois Lowe on the open side, and Elstad's a blindside flanker. Like, there's nothing open side about him, and with the greatest of respect. Like, he's a bruiser, hardworking, carrier, smash you off your feet kind of guy. He's Pieter-Steph du Toit. So the way I look at it is I would have absolutely rested Pieter-Steph du Toit, and I feel we should be resting him a little bit. I think he should get less game time because he has played so much. I don't care if he missed a month of rugby due to an injury. He needs less time on the field leading into the World Cup. So I would have actually started Elstad at blind. I would have started Coetzee at 8 and Francois Lowe at 6, personally. But, you know, I think that would have been the better shout for me. Pieter-Steph du Toit is immense and great, and I was really happy with everyone. Francois Lowe is pretty decent, but I don't think 8's the option for him. I think he was there to cover it. And the guys off the bench were so-so. So just it's a little bit, there's some interesting, like, I think we didn't get it right there, but we still managed to dominate in many breakdowns and win. And I'm quite happy with that. Like, I'm happy if we don't do well and we win, especially if we win so comfortably. So I just think there's a lot that needs to work around there. And I really would like to see Elstad get at least another 2 to 3 games, even if it's a half or 20 or 40 minutes, just to get in the mix. But yeah, Kolisi's out for the rest of the Rugby Champs and will be fit for the World Cup, but he's going to play a couple of games, Currie Cup first, so we've got to see how that works out. The truth is, if he can run and carry and play rugby, he's going to the World Cup, and I'm very happy with that. I think we've got enough guys to balance and sort everything out, and Kolisi adds a lot of value to the side.
And didn't you enjoy him being a water carrier there effectively for the guys? I mean, I saw some people reading it totally wrong on Twitter, for example, and, you know, what's the captain doing carrying the water and that? But I mean, hey, I can imagine him putting up his hand and saying, I want to be involved. I'm injured now, I can't play. And what better message that he's the leader of the squad than to be prepared to do that sort of thing and get involved that way?
Absolutely. People are dicks, man. Like, that's just the short answer. Like, I think it's excellent that he's there. He wants to add value. He wants to be with the guys. It's the first test match of the year. Like, there's a new leader. I still think him and Eben are really great when they play together in terms of how they dovetail and balance each other out with Eben's aggression and Kolisi's sort of management. So maybe he was there to help a little bit with that and maybe help take the load off Eben, who's come back from injury and trying to now lead this side in a very important game for us. Like, beating Australia at home was important for us, and we did it quite well. So I was so stoked to see him there. The fans love him. Like, everyone, he gets on well with everyone, is amazing. So he's a leader, he's leading from the front, and we really wouldn't want anything else from our captain.
Excellent, yeah. And I think, you know, you touched on something about how important a game that was. We're all in good spirits now because we put the Aussies away. If Australia had beaten us on the weekend, we would be down in the dumps and, like, you know, what are we doing? And you know, so it was such an important game in that sense. And talking of important positions, what about the 9 and 10? I'm going to stay with you here, Sean. Let's talk about Yankees, and you can take a pick which one you want to start with.
Sure, amazing. I tell you one thing that no one's mentioned, and I think we can talk about it now because they can't reverse it. But that first try was a forward pass. I just want to get that out of the way.
I did see it on Twitter. Someone mentioned it on Twitter. It might even have been you.
It was forward. Like, that first try was forward, and no one went back to check it out, and I'm okay with that for now. But no one must complain later when something goes against South Africa. That's all I'm going to say. I thought Herschel was incredible. I do think there were a couple of errors a little bit in the beginning. The nerves, I thought some of the accuracy of his passes was a little bit so-so, and it's all nerves. And he's playing at Ellis Park, and it's huge and all sorts. So I'm stoked with the way he settled so quickly. I thought he really played some good, decent heads-up rugby, make some decent decisions on defence, and heavily involved, and got some good support for some really, really big guys. So they helped him out nicely. I thought Alton was really good. You know, like nobody could bitch and moan or say anything about him during the game. Nobody could say anything wrong about Elton Jantjies during the game. But after the game, they would go all hell for leather about it. So, like, you know, I take you back to my first statement. But the thing is, I thought he had a really good game. The guys are talking about always lofted passes and how that's never going to work against the All Blacks. We weren't playing the All Blacks, and he probably won't pull the trigger like that against the All Blacks when he plays, because we have a different game plan and we have a different setup. So I thought he did really well. I thought his kicking was pretty decent. I was very happy with that combo. We are starting to get some decent little combinations of guys that are working together a little bit, that are play different styles of rugby to our other combos, which really makes us deadly. Like, it changes up our game. It's not a like-for-like replacement per se, but we have guys that offer different aspects, and it's huge for us. And if we get guys that are gelling and start working together, we're going to cause quite a bit of havoc.
And I was just looking at an article on your website titled "From a Selection Crisis to a Selection Headache." I think focusing firmly on that number 9 position. What is Rassie? I mean, going into this game, was Rassie really just seeing if Jantjies should get on the plane? And has Jantjies done enough to suggest that perhaps he should be more than just on the plane, maybe pushing up the pecking order? And I'm talking about the scrummy, okay? Sorry, I'm talking about number 9.
So I think we are too far gone with Faf in terms of how we've molded everything around him for the last 2 years, that we can't pull the plug now. It's a bit risky. Personally, I think, and I've always said this, but I think Faf's very erratic, and I think he doesn't give as much as what he loses. And I think a lot of the stuff he does is making up for other sort of errors and goodies. I think Herschel's got a better pass and a more accurate one. I think he makes better decisions and actually helps his 10 a little bit more. So Faf's been kicking a lot lately in the Springbok jersey, and that's something that I think that has come, it's been worked on a little bit and all that sort of jazz. And I thought Reinach was really good when he came on. And I tell you, when we finally can be in the position where we can bring on a very experienced Form 9, our game changes. Like, Reinach comes on, we've got front foot ball, and he is deadly quick. And it really will absolutely rip people apart. And he provides another aspect. A lot of guys haven't played against him in years. So now, they're going to be looking back to go see how he scored all his tries and what's cracking and why is he so dangerous. And then he starts making guys think a little bit. Same with Herschel. So I think we're taking 3 9s, and I think our 3 9s are Faf, Herschel, and Reinach. I'll be honest. I think that's who it's going to be. But having said that, I'd also really, whatever happens with Herschel Jantjies, as long as it happens in a manageable way and we don't throw him under the bus, because we absolutely need him. Like, we're finally in a position where we can start talking post-World Cup, and I hate World Cup to World Cup strategies. It's bonkers. In a professional age, we should never be doing this. So now we're starting to have squads, and we're starting to be able to draw on people all different sides. So Rassie's quite tactical astute, and I just think that he's now got to really work on his horses for courses and figure out how he wants to work it. But he's got some good headaches to do to sort out at the moment.
Well, let's go to Donovan for his thoughts on the halfbacks. And Donovan, one of the things I always find with South Africans as well, we're very quick to build up heroes. In other words, a guy can go onto the field, have one good performance, and suddenly he's the greatest thing. But then he makes maybe a couple of mistakes in his next game, and we'll pull him right down. And I think, Sean's right. We don't want to throw the guy under the bus. But what were your impressions of 9 and 10?
Look, it's fairly simple. It's a lot easier to have a really good game at 9 if we've got front foot ball. So. From that point of view, I'd like to still see him when the scrum's going backwards and maybe we're under a little bit of pressure, if he still makes the right kind of decisions then. But, he's still young. I don't think we should be thrown in against the All Blacks just yet. Maybe come on a lot later, but he's not ready for that. And it would be nice that we actually take these young guys and we introduce them properly, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 20 minutes, they do a whole half, and then eventually they start maybe their 8th or 9th test, and really work on them instead of in the past. We've had 19-year-olds who've just thrown them in and just said, yeah, go for it, and yeah, you're absolutely right, they're absolute heroes, and then they fall off the bandwagon, they end up overseas and they do really well over there. So it is tough. I did think Elton I thought he had a good game. I also gave him a lot of stick before the game. I thought he wasn't the right choice. He hadn't had a really good Super Rugby season, but he'll be on the plane for sure to the World Cup. I don't think we have anyone that's close enough to him to be able to take over that position. So he's not going to take Pollard's position away, but I actually see him going to the World Cup. We don't have anybody else that can replace him, and he did a good enough job on the weekend.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I mean, Pollard is definitely going to be the first choice, but Yankees must go with him. And Couch, we haven't got your opinions on the halfbacks yet.
Oh, I love talking about scrum halves, so that's my favorite thing. So I could get stuck in here. Firstly, Donovan is spot on there. It's just we're so quick to hype someone up, and I mean, he should start in the World Cup and everything like that. Let's just chill on that. I mean, he's come through a Super Rugby. I remember doing my weekly Super Rugby team, South African wise, and I think I had him starting twice. So it's not like he was head and shoulders the best in Super Rugby. He showed some potential, but I mean, as Sean has said, we've stuck it on as Faf is our man, and he's going to be our man. There's going to be no change to that. The strange thing was hearing Rassie saying that he knew what he had in Ivan van Zyl and Ambrose Papier, and he was just testing the water with extra guys. But geez, if you watch the Currie Cup this past weekend, he can bury those two, forget about them, and he's got Herschel Jantjies going forward now. So let's just focus on those three. But again, they bring a few different things to the party, and it'll be difficult going away from a Kobus Reinach's kind of impact off the bench. You still feel he's unique in what he can bring from the bench. And we've already said Faf is going to be pretty integral in terms of what he's going to do for us at 9. And I mean, Herschel has still got to do a lot of testing in terms of his high kicking and box kicking and really getting that nailed down. So I still think hopefully he's going to be on the plane, definitely. I think Rassie is now basically almost created so much press and stress on himself that he can't really leave him. So he's going to be there. And but he's probably going to be number 3 there. And then in terms, I was going to judge, I don't know what you're talking about. Elton Jantjies never throwing a pass, only against Australia, not against New Zealand. Elton's got one way of playing, and he plays the same way against whoever. He just wings it. That is Elton Jantjies. He plays it as he sees it, and unfortunately, 60% of the time he sees it a bit cuck. But anyway, that is Elton. You just got to, that's the best we got as a number 2, and that's the way it's going to be. So we gotta run with that, and there's definitely no one anywhere close in the wings. He's the number 2, and I was glad he got some game time. I think it's important. He's pretty much a confidence player, and you need to have him in there, and he needs to start at least another game. And in any case, I want Pollard wrapped up probably after this New Zealand test. So give Elton some more runs and just get him as steady as you can possibly get him, and then he's obviously going to the World Cup. So we just need to hope and pray nothing happens to Pollard, eh?
Yeah, Couch, well done. It was half an hour before you had a real go at someone on the show. I think that must be some sort of a record. I'm going to stay with you now as we move on to what should be a really interesting position. Plenty of guys in the live chat talking about the number 12 jersey. Also, some interesting comments about guys like Goose and Lambie who were perhaps pushed under the bus a bit early in their careers as well. But Couch, let's get to you now. We've got the 12 and 13 jersey. We had Esterhuizen and Creel, and we have to talk, of course, about the man who came off the bench, Frans Steyn.
Yeah, my man Esterhuizen let me down badly. He's put in a few performances now, and he hasn't really shown that he belongs on that level. It's a bit disconcerting. His efforts at 12 at this stage. I mean, he just doesn't quite bring the same that Damian Dalende does. I don't think he's not as accurate in the job description there. And then obviously Frans came on and he did a great job, but let's not get overexcited. Yeah, it was one game, one impact. I actually heard someone say that Elton was a little bit upset with him at one stage for something that Frans Steyn called or something that Frans Steyn did. So there's the first little crack in that little relationship happening there. Good old Fransie. So we need to sort that out, and Rassie needs to get behind that and make sure if it's going to be, obviously Frans brings that extra little bit of options with him that Andre Esterhuizen doesn't. So if Damian Dalende shines this weekend, then he's definitely sorted over everything. He's your first choice number 12, and you think Frans is just going as a backup, then possibly Frans could end up being a better option than Andre Esterhuizen. I think at this stage Andre Esterhuizen is playing himself out, whilst after one showing, and let's emphasize this, it was only one showing of 20 minutes from France. Steyn was decent. We're still going to have to see what he can offer, but he nudged ahead there. And then Kriel, I mean, he didn't get a lot of opportunities. Kriel is Kriel. We know what we get from him. You put him in a gap and he's great at running it. He's a strong runner, decent lines, but he's more, give him something to do and he'll do it. Is more creative and he's gonna try and do a few things. So it'll be good to see in action against the All Blacks, and everyone's gonna have. I mean, this one is pretty much split down the line between the whole country, 50-50, whether you're going for or Kriel. And I think it's important for us to start settling on this specific combination there and really getting them in terms of the defensive setup and working together as an attacking partnership. So the jury is still out on who's the best 13, but definitely, I mean, Damien he's cut and dry the starting 12.
Interesting. Just to mention, Pierre Killian, just commenting earlier on the live chat, what you'd said about the fact that it looked like Steyn was sort of bossing Elton around a bit when he came on, and it didn't appear. Pierre, by the way, was also at the ground, so he says it didn't appear that Elton took that very well. Let's go on to Sean now for his comments on the centre combination.
Yeah, I think so. I mentioned earlier there's two guys that I don't think performed. Esterhuizen was one of them. It was quite disappointing, and just to go back on the Elton Yankees thing, I agree totally. Like Elton's a heads-up player, so he plays what he sees. So in terms of those lofted passes, but I agree in terms of how he plays. I thought Jesse Kriel had an exceptional game, and I'm not a fan of Jesse Kriel at 13. I think over the last 2 years, he's been playing really well and grown into that 13 role. I thought on Saturday he was brilliant and mostly defensive. A lot of that work came plowing through the 12-13 channel. And I just thought that he handled it pretty well. And especially considering Esterhuizen wasn't exceptionally good. So it was a bit difficult to get the ball out wide, which was very disappointing because Mapimpi is an incredible player at the moment, and he's an incredible finisher, and he got very little ball. So that was a little bit sad to see. I thought Francie, when he came on, did his job. Like, he did really well at what he needed to do. In terms of the conflict between him and EJ, I'm not quite sure. I'm going to have to go back and have a little look-see and see what we can get out of that. But listen, everyone loves to hate Elton and everyone loves to hate Francie Steyn. So something's going to come out of there somewhere along the line. Like, there's never going to be something nice to be said. But I thought he did well. I thought the front football was really, really good. And I think just his experience in playing rugby in terms of how he does it, draws in a few more people. He is quite big and strong. I think 12's his position. And I think if you really, really need him to play 15, you do. And then he can cover at 10. But I think 12 is where he must stay. So I'm pretty happy. Lukhanyo is my favorite and my best 13 at the moment. So and I think Delendi's in some good form too. So I'm looking forward to seeing it this weekend. They are up against a different kettle of fish with playing the big boys. But yeah, looking forward to it. I thought pretty decent showing for 12 and 13s, but not Esterhuizen too much. And I think he knows it. I don't think he had a great game.
Well, I know Hein doesn't always read, or he doesn't read the live chat, so I'll just tell you, Jared says, Hein, verdict, the best 13 is Am. You can put it right there. He certainly likes him. Yeah, just a quick one before we go on to Donovan. Any chance that Steyn can start at 12 against New Zealand, Sean? Do you agree with Hein that Dalende's got that one wrapped up?
I don't think Russie's sending guys to New Zealand early so they can get rested up so they can bench.
Yes.
And I think that's it. I think some questions were answered this weekend, and I still think this Rugby Championship is the only time ever that you're going to be able to work with things and use it and experiment is in a World Cup year. And I think Russie's going to be doing that. Damien's our first choice 12, no doubt about it. And I think France has still got a bit of work to do from a squad point of view and to convince a coach that it's the right decision now. It was only one game and all that. I think we've got quite a bit more. Like with Damien, they've spent a lot of time and effort working with him and getting him into the mix. And, he's definitely first choice. And I don't see, barring injury, that anyone but him will start in a 12 jumper.
Right, Donovan, let's go over to you for your comments on the centres.
Yeah, I thought. I thought Esther. I didn't think Esther had a really good game. I don't think he really brought anything special. He's a crash bang player that didn't crash bang. So, yeah, I'm also in agreement. I wouldn't read too much into Franstein either. Yes, he had an incredible game, and it was nice to actually see him going through 3-4 players, and then cycling the ball. So I think he brings something, but I see Franstein more. Not saying he is Anton Linder-Brown, but more that kind of player. He's more bench kind of player nowadays. You know, you bring him in if something goes wrong on the field, and he can cover most of the positions, and he's got the skills like Anton Linder-Brown to be able to cover everything. I think we're super fortunate at 13 to have 2 really good 13s in this country. And you know what? If one wasn't there, you would have the other one in the team. So it's super fortunate. It'd be nice to actually see them. They both can't play, obviously, but it'd be nice to be able to now see. Now, Rusty can obviously look at the opposition and say, okay, which 13 would be the better 13 to have on the field against this opposition? You know, so using them more tactically. Look, I'm gonna say this straight. I've been a big Jesse Creel fan for years, but he's no Lukhanyo Arm. I'm sorry. I think Lukhanyo Arm understands space just so much more than Jesse Creel. Where Jesse Creel is very good on defense and very good on attack, and he communicates really well. I just think Lukhanyo Arm he's something special. And I agree with Makazole Mpimpi. The only time he got the ball, there were 5 players in front of him, and it doesn't make sense. You know, to give your best winger, you've got to give him the best opportunity to go score. You know, give your finishers the best opportunities. And every time he got the ball, there were 4 or 5 players in front of him. So yeah, it was a little bit frustrating on that point of view. But Damon Delendo, I say, is our 12. Lukhanyo Arm is our 13, and I think, barring any injury, I think that's going to be our combination going to the World Cup.
The starting ones, and let's go on. You touched on Mpimpi there on the wing. So let's talk about the back 3. Your opinions on their games that they had?
You know, I was actually watching the game, and I've got to say this straight. You look at Sibu Nkosi, you know, it's his 5th. I think it's his 5th outing. The guy seems so comfortable on the field. It's just like he's been there for 30, 40 tests. He honestly believes that he should be there. You know, if you look at, I'd take another great winger, Rico Ioane. The first time he came onto the field, he just said, "This is my position. That's where I'm going to stay." And that's what I feel about Sibu Nkosi. I think he honestly believes he should be on the field, and I think he has the skills to be there. I feel for Makazole Mpimpi that I think other players made him look bad. Warwick Gelant, sure, I don't know what to say, because he has some really brilliant moments and some of the kicks, but it just sometimes he just does some really strange things. Maybe that's just youth or something, but I don't know. I thought he had a good game, but I think he can do a hell of a lot better than what he is. I'd say that the standout was Sibu Nkosi, and I think from this game up, he's probably secured his position going to the World Cup. That's my honest opinion. Makazole Mpimpi, I think he's probably going to be replaced by Cheslin. That's my 2 cents on that one. And yeah, I think Warwick Gelant I think he can do a lot better than how he played on the weekend.
Okay, yeah, and I think that's a fair comment. Mpimpi, and as you say, look, sometimes when you're on the wing, I know I've always said when I watch my son play rugby, I'm pleased my son's not a wing. Because the dads who watch their sons play wing, it's like the ball goes down first centre, he crashes. Then eventually the next move against the second centre, he crashes. So often as a wing, you are very reliant on what's in front of you. Although I suppose, I mean, if you look at Habana and that over the years, he's gone and looked for work, and that's also something that a wing has to do. But interested, Couch, in your comments there on the wingers, on the back 3.
Yeah, Brent, geez, wasn't Leitz brilliant? What a game. Fantastic. He didn't get a bloody minute.
I tell you what,
Shocking.
Yeah, and I was very impressed with Leitz. When you finish telling me about it, I'll show you what Leitz's best move of the entire game was.
No, that was shocking. Didn't get a minute, and then he gets the boot, doesn't get on the plane. He's in trouble. He's playing Currie Cup, but don't worry, you're lifting a trophy this season. What I was going to say on them, Mimi Lomu, how good is that? I love Nkosi. I thought he's the shining light in the Springboks the last 12 months, and great Super Rugby campaign. I'm a huge fan. I think he's come on at pace. he's brilliant. He's got for once we've got someone who's actually got some physicality to him as well, without, not having the X factor and the skill and the pace. And I think he's got something special there. And I mean, that try, he put on the gas, and he had the wherewithal, to know that he's not going to try and do it alone. He's going to look for the inside pass. And I think he's just understanding the game a bit better. And to me, that's the difference between him and Dayanti at the moment. Is Dayanti is flat out gas, chase the line, and of course he's just a little bit more heads up and knows what's going on around him. He's got to do a little bit of work on the high ball. Obviously, that's crucial in international rugby, and it's still something he's got to put a bit of time in. But I'm a huge fan of that, because he's a machine, and it's no wonder they called him Mini Lomo there in KZN MP. He's great. And then Mapimpi, he didn't get a lot of ball. He's going to be in a fist fight. We said it for that jersey. It's going to be tight for who's going to be wearing the number 11. I still think Rassi's going to keep it for Dayanti there, unless he's really not able to play almost any rugby whatsoever. But Colby's got the opportunity this weekend to try and make things tough, and try and put his hat in the ring as not only a bench X factor guy, but a guy who can start on the wing. I think they're a little bit worried about his size defensively, so he needs to put that to bed. Whether it's right or wrong, that's just the way South African coaches are, and the South African mentality is. So hopefully Colby can show something this weekend, and then we can have a real good debate on who's the better 11.
Oh, well, let's go and have a look at Leitz's best move of the game. I think the one thing we can say about him is he kept warm. Can you guys see the screen there? Giving Yankees a good hug. So I think that's
what a brilliant team player. Eh? What a team player.
At least we can say, Sean, he kept warm. He had a nice blanket.
Yeah. I feel for our wingers at the moment because of two things. Because of our defensive setup, that not everyone's up to scratch with it, and we do rush out wide, which is a plan. So that does force more often to look at them if they don't make the hit. I thought Mapimpi, I wish he'd got more ball. I'm a massive fan of Sabu Nkosi, but as I've mentioned a number of times, the guy, he's worked so hard over the last couple of years, because 3 years ago, he had such a great season for the Sharks on the left wing, and he's a left winger. He's a really good left winger. So they moved him over, and he's got a bit of work to do to understand playing on the right. And I know it sounds a bit weird talking about left and right, but there is a difference. And I think, he's come on like leaps and bounds. I think he's really doing well. He's starting to, I think, hit the nail on the head, and he's starting to understand his role better in the Springbok setup, but also in the international setup. And it's great, because once he understands the basics, and once he's comfortable with the basics, he's going to start flowing. It's going to start becoming natural. And that's the issue with Creel and is Creel's being made a 13 where is a 13. And there's a big difference there. You've got so much that you need to learn, especially on the international stage. So yeah, of course he was good. Mapimpi, I think he's our best finishing winger in South Africa at the moment. There's only one person better at finishing than him, and that's Cheslin Kolbe. So I think it's tough for him. Aphiwe Janti's going to have the number 11 jersey to start the World Cup. I just hope Mapimpi goes. Mapimpi's played left and right as well for the Springboks too, if I'm not mistaken. So I think we're good there. And I think a bit disappointed with Warwick Gelant this weekend. He was my second player that I really thought didn't do well. And the way he played is the epitome of what we get out of Willie Leroux. Like, we get a whole bunch of cuck, and then we get a whole bunch, every now and then we get some goodness. And I think that's very concerning for me with the guys at 15. I thought Gelant made a couple of very poor decisions and poor executed kicks, which hurt us. And the thing is, I will say about him is he's the kind of player that legit has to play games to gain momentum. And it's going to take another 2 to 3 games of him being in there to kind of settle down. So we're going to have to wait and see how that unfolds. I'm really interested to see how Willie Leroux plays this weekend, because I'm quite outspoken about his form currently, and I just think this week off would have also done him a world of good. So yeah, I was a little bit disappointed with Gelant and with the wingers not getting as much ball as was needed. And but I thought Nkosi was really really good. He was definitely a standout out of the back three.
Right, that brings us to the end of our chat on the Springboks. Imagine we went through this analysis for all the other teams, we'd be on now. But it was really great to talk about what was a very impressive Springbok performance. I'm going to ask her, there's one other topic we just want to touch on quickly regarding the SA schools thing. But before that, just to, and I'll start with you, Sean, any other comments on the Rugby Championship, be it, and also perhaps a prediction for this weekend's game against New Zealand? Bit of mixed bag in the live chat. We've got some guys saying that New Zealand are going to win. Others saying the Boks, but I think the general impression is we could be in for a really close game.
We basically got two teams that it's their first game of the season as a majority, so it's quite interesting. Like we literally could just forget about this weekend's game and look ahead for the first test match of the year, essentially, which is very, very interesting. And I'm really looking forward to see how this whole thing unfolds with what Russie's done and what he plans on doing. So I'm quite amped for it. I think the All Blacks are going to be under quite a little bit more pressure than us because of how they performed in Argentina, what they expected of a few players and what they're going to bring out now. So they're going to be under pressure, especially considering last year's results. So I think we're in for an absolute cracker. I think it is going to be test match rugby. It's going to be forward dominated. It's going to be tactical kicking. It's going to be high ball. If you make an error, you get punished. So I think, yeah, kind of looking for, well, obviously looking forward to it, and I'm hoping the RGs roll the Wallabies, but I'm scared the Wallabies take too few many losses and they get it right for the World Cup. Just like I'm scared that New Zealand take a loss before the World Cup. I'd rather they lose when they play us and it matters, and then they can work on it for the next World Cup. If you get what I'm saying.
I do hear what you're saying there, Donovan. Let's go to you. Thoughts on this weekend?
Well, I just want to comment about this past weekend. I just got to say, I picked up in the Australian game the 2 HRAs with the props, and I was completely flummoxed about the way that they tackled, and all this talk from World Rugby to player safety and all of that, and that was just basic skills. It's basic skills. You don't tackle someone across with your head. It's just ludicrous. But I'll leave it at that. Isn't it nice that we can go into next weekend and we really don't know who's going to win between the Springboks and New Zealand? You know, we really have a chance to actually beat them. You know, and like Russie said, you know, isn't it? Nick Mallett was talking about Russie, and he was saying, isn't it nice that Russie says we can beat anyone on any day? You know, and I'm expecting a cracker of a game. I think New Zealand are going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at that game. I think it's important for them. You know, they always say, you know, you don't want to win. It's not important, the Rugby Championship and all of that. Please, you know, everyone likes winning trophies. And essentially, whoever wins this game this weekend basically won the Rugby Championship. So that's the bottom line for this weekend. So I'm expecting an absolute cracker of a game. I think it's going to be physically bruising, and yeah. That's what I'm waiting for this weekend.
I mean, it's Monday night, but I think we're all looking forward to this one. That's for sure. Kach, what's your prediction for the game?
I think the All Blacks have so many trophies in their cabinet, they wouldn't know whether they win another one or not. So I actually think it's just important for them, full stop. I don't think they're even thinking about the trophy, and I do think it's a decider. That win over Argentina pretty much makes this the deciding match. I'm actually on the opposite point of view to the judge there. I think the more the All Blacks lose now, the better. I think they need to have that pressure. If they go into that World Cup with pressure, they haven't played with that kind of pressure in a long time. It's been easy. It's been cruise control. Everything has come easily to them. I actually think it's been a while since the All Blacks have really strung two good performances together. You know, they've shown here or there, but for the majority of the last year or 18 months, they haven't been that great. And I think they're starting to feel that they need a good performance somewhere, and maybe it's going to be against the Aussies. Or hopefully, it's going to be against the Aussies as well. I think this should be a cracker. You know, Russie's going to have the guys primed. I think the mood in the camp's going to be great. You know, the B team doing this well. Everyone's, I think, believing in this whole system and believing in what the coach has got planned there. So I think the Boks are going to be well up for this one. Obviously, the All Blacks are going to be up, but to me, I'm just starting to see a few little cracks there, and maybe, just maybe, imagine the Boks beat the All Blacks, there's going to be all sorts of questions running around in New Zealand country there. So that'll really put the cat amongst the pigeons. So I'd love to see that. And then obviously for the Argentines, I told you guys, these Aussies are poor and they can keep losing or keep winning. It doesn't matter. They're still going to suck at the World Cup. And they were shocking. I mean, not being able to beat this Bok B team was bad. They're going nowhere. They're probably going to call Cheika in halfway through the World Cup, I reckon.
Okay. I see there's a bit of discussion about Surfontaine on the live chat. I know at one point he was injured that I heard for the training camp. I don't know. But Couch, let me go. We my rule, we try to keep it down to under an hour. We're into the final stretch here. We've got 5 minutes. You had something else you wanted to raise about schoolboy rugby?
Oh, Brent, I don't think we needed to go into that in 5 minutes. I think we had a good discussion, but I just think we give SA Rugby and the decision makers a lot of hiding and a lot of stick when they get it wrong. And a lot of people came out socially and said, either right or wrong when Voliter wasn't picked for the SA schools team, even though he was one of the better players. And everyone has said obviously it's because he signed the Montpellier deal, and his mom came out and said that he wasn't treated right. But I think, they did it right there. You can't guarantee a player anything. You can't say, listen, stay in South Africa. You're going to be the SA schools this, and you're going to be that, and you're going to get a contract. The guy's got to make his decision and back himself to be able to perform in South Africa or not. And if he decides to go overseas, then, why pick him and why send him on a tour when you can own someone else, another youngster? I mean, who knows? It could have been a guy like Shell Yankees getting a shot, and in 3 years' time he plays the world on fire in a Springbok test. So to me, they got that one spot on. If you decide to go, then go, but don't expect the support and further money and investment from South African rugby.
Excellent. Sean, I'll get your opinion on that quickly before we close. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, there's nothing set in stone as to what's right and what's wrong, but yeah, I don't know. It's quite an interesting one. You'd expect him to make it, but they maybe don't feel like he's going to be giving anything back, so rather find someone else. So it's quite controversial. I do think that the precedent's been set. I think the interesting thing that I did see out of it was what about those players that have signed contracts and haven't declared them? So I'm not sure if that's possible or can happen, but yeah, I don't think it's the last we'll hear of it, but I also think that they've made it pretty clear what's going to happen if you do sign pre-contracts.
And Donovan, what amazes me is the age that these guys are signing contracts these days. The fact that overseas players are coming in for us at school level. It's fascinating. Yeah, I read there was an interesting article with Montpellier having bursaries at Gray's College. So, they really are targeting the players quite young. But it just goes to show that, SA Rugby should spend more time trying to identify these players as well, and then maybe trying to get them into our systems a lot earlier. So we can't just rely on them coming, because Montpellier and all of the places are sending out these scouts wherever. So maybe we should be doing the same.
But just quickly on that, he did. I did see someone came up with some stuff of where he was drafted into nationals, like under 18 stuff. So he was identified. The truth is, though, the guys are just holding back now. If you're really good and someone comes to talk to you about it, the guys will hold back and say, right, so what am I going to get from Western Province and the Stormers? I'm not going to get a percentage of what they're going to offer you over there. You're going to go. So, they made the decision to go as well, it's and they're definitely going to be better off financially for it, and hopefully his rugby works out. We might not ever see him playing for us, but the truth is we also can't contract everyone, and we only have so much money, and and we only have so many players, so it's really challenging, and to get a guy out of school is ballsy.
Yeah, I like Andre's comment on the live chat. He says you don't know if an 18-year-old's going to make it or not, and I think that takes me back to Couch, your comment where you basically say they've made their decision now, and you're quite okay with the way that SA Rugby have handled this. And I must say this isn't an incident I've followed particularly closely. So what you guys are telling me now is really the first I've heard about it. But from what I'm hearing, I tend to agree with what you said up front, Couch, is that the decision's been made. I mean, if I looked at it, if my son got an offer and you were planning to take it up overseas, I probably would drop any expectations of being called up to national sides.
Exactly, and I mean, what is he going to benefit from being in the SA schools team now? You know, he's already made his contract. He's not going to get more money from Montpellier. So, you know, what
Maybe
benefit?
it's
Why
in his
does he really want
contract.
to do it?
Maybe it's in his
Yeah,
contract.
and
If he gets national colours, he gets it up.
maybe, but I mean, and there's no benefit to SA Rugby. I mean, why give him that exposure? Why play him there when you can give someone else an opportunity who might be considering a deal, but he's thinking, wait, let me see, as Sean was saying, you know, and now give him a shot and maybe he doesn't go. So to me, it's just it's the right way to go in terms of a guy who's made it clear up front. I know there is the issue. Some guys just maybe haven't you know, made it public. They already have deals, but in this case, you know, they know about it, and I just think it's the right way for them to be clear and say, listen, rather give someone else a shot.
Yeah, Pierre Killian just making a point that for €5,000 a month, clubs over there can afford to take a chance on a few 18-year-olds.
I just want to jump in there. Just like, if you think about it from a business point of view, like it makes complete sense that he wasn't selected. Like, why would we invest our money in making this kid a player that essentially we want to grow for us in our country, and he's not going to do that already. And the truth is we don't have the wedge to throw around at everyone and hope he's going to make it or not. So, like, you know, I was just having to think now and just listening to everyone's comments, and completely, like, from a business point of view, you want to invest in the guy and invest in him to stay, but he's not staying. You're like, well, why am I wasting this money? It makes more sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think from what you guys are saying, I think South African rugby handled it well. Guys, that brings us to the end of the show. I really enjoyed talking rugby championships. And the beauty is, next week, we've got a totally new team to talk about. And we can go into the full analysis after the New Zealand test, which is going to be great. Judge, thanks very much. Good chatting to you. And make sure you finalize that accommodation booking in Kimberley, please.
Done. Sorts it out for you now. We must just maybe take some gas heaters, but yeah. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. I'm pretty amped for next week, Monday. It's going to be world class.
It's good. Yeah, it's going to be great. Catch, good having you on the show, and best of luck in the rest of the Tour de France.
Cheers, Brent. Thanks, man. You too. Huh?
Excellent. Thanks, Donovan. Thanks very much, eh?
Thanks for having me.
What beanie are you going to wear next week?
No, I've only got this one, so Mark must be happy.
Excellent. And thanks to Mark and all the guys on the live chat. It was great having your contributions. You've been listening to Use It or Lose It. If you haven't yet done so, please subscribe down below the video. And look out for rugby. For those of you into your betting, Rugby Night, the handicap, Rugby Chat That Matters. We'll be talking Rugby Championships Week 2 and also Currie Cup Week 3. Thanks, everyone.